Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to Mirror's Edge Catalyst. Let's resume game. Now, the game is not particularly too slow, I would have to point out, when you just launch it to load into an area. Of course, just sitting on the menu even for a few seconds or a few minutes, it does open up the possibility that it could be loading the previous game as it's loading the rest of the main menu, hiding that. Um, where are we supposed to be going? I guess we're going this way. And yeah, we're going to Dogan. And we still have same old problems of Kruger security cameras wanting to completely wreck you as far as um, the uh, wandering around the overworld. So trying to do any of the side missions is probably a waste. Hmm. Well, we might as well go down here and see what this is, but like I really just kind of don't know where we are. We're at the exit, and it seems like going this way actually is just taking me further towards this wrong safe house. This is something I would have liked to see, since this is a future sci-fi society. I would have liked to see a way to grab onto a ladder and then automatically be rotated around that ladder so that you could climb up from both sides. Um, all you would really have to do is create something with a pivot. Now, if a ladder's on a wall like this, it doesn't matter. You don't need that, but there's enough places certainly where it would be helpful. Okay, so we're going back through this whole section, which this is by far one of the most boring sections in the whole game, in that you just really are going to see it 3 or 4 different times, and it's not going to be particularly that interesting in any of those encounters. Interesting, I just rolled up the stairs. And I nearly got stuck in the process for it. See, I'd seen this yellow cleaning material, and I had thought that perhaps that was a briefcase that needed to be collected. But now looking at it, it isn't the case. And there's even a white box here and a white box here that's not lit up, where security chips could be. I don't know if there really is a way to get down to this, because it kind of feels like I could jump here and grab this. Um, yeah, it feels like you could grab that ledge and slide down, but I bet it. I bet you can't. I bet you can't ever reach these. The problem to try is I'd almost have to jump over this to get to that. Well, interesting. Okay. We are now lower. Which then makes it seem like you can reach over here. Hey, there was a collectible there, after all. And apparently I just clipped through the floor and hit a point that is an instant kill section. Like, yeah. There's no reason why that should have killed me like that. And yet it did. This is what I'm talking about, though. The 20, 30 seconds, even on a very modern computer. Yeah, there's apparently no physics on this piece of glass, and so it kills you. And it's actually seems like it's pretty easy to get killed in a lot of different places here. I don't know how you don't call this a lack of polish. Like, obviously, like, they only intended to put a secret here because they assumed you would run in and run out fairly quickly. Now, is this glass floor all over? Nope. Um, but then they didn't care enough to not force the player to potentially end up having to reload a couple times. And see, we have somebody here, which is almost certainly a delivery. And then this is also the area where you have all these screens that seem to indicate something, but it really isn't telling you what it's supposed to indicate. Just a bunch of numbers. Bunch of what look like, frankly, phone numbers. Right. We wouldn't have been able to reach this area without the grapple ability. So almost certainly this is at least a different path we've never seen. Probably an entire area we haven't seen. We could grapple our way back up here, and almost certainly there's a race to this. It's a new day for me, so I don't want to immediately start with complaining, but I can't help but once again feel like these environments, these buildings I'm on, are much closer to just random placements, something that they spent maybe 5 minutes on to decide where a building goes, versus a really thought out, like nicely polished experience or developed city. Um, yeah. And with the random assortment of buildings, or the feeling that it's a random assortment of buildings, it does really give you the feeling that uh, they had just hoped that players would have created their own races around the random assortment of buildings. Right. We've almost certainly been here before. You can't just jump out the windows. Can't break the windows. Somebody's got some kind of quest for me, but there's still not really a lot of reason why you would want to do these quests. Yeah. Now my disruptor, it's probably too long now. It's probably too late now to disrupt it. So maybe that bought me a little bit of time. Maybe every time I hear scanning grid print now, I should just use the disruptor and see if that permanently will break the cameras throughout the entire world, or if they respawn and reset. Yep. It honestly doesn't feel like yeah, doesn't feel like the disruptor actually works unless you're looking in that specific direction. And so it's not really worth my time to just wait for the disruptor to recharge. It does feel like it recharges a little bit faster when you're not in a fighting mode. Nearly fell there. But wouldn't it make way more sense to have the security chips play some role in how fast the cameras scan you at the very least, if it does nothing else? Instead of it just being a completely unconnected, pointless collectible. Alright. So we blew that up, and in the top right you can see there's not a save happening. We would be seeing the logo if it was gonna quick save that. So we should try and see if we can find another collectible and see if it always saves when we get other collectibles. Because yeah, I could be doing this wrong. It could be that the game just really did not educate me well enough around the idea of saying, oh, all you have to do is disrupt and destroy these security cameras around the entire world. In fact, the map should probably just tell you to do that. There should potentially even be a side quest to do that, if that was going to be the idea. But we've made it to Dogen, so let's just start this quest and see if that automatically refills a disruptor or two, or if it refills our shield.
Get out of my sight before I cut you up for stew. Faith, I'm not in the mood. Do you have the blueprint?
No. And I need a favor.
And a new home, from what I hear. Do you also find it mystifying that I keep on giving and get nothing in return?
Please. I need to find a facility called Kingdom. Noah's being held there.
Kingdom.
Interesting that they would write him as being upset.
Do you know where it is?
It's fine, though. It's probably interesting writing.
I'll run for you. 5 years, no questions asked. 10 years. 20.
You won't live that long.
Dogen does seem like he's kind of a nice.
And dig your way down. That's where you'll find Kingdom.
Thank you.
Now he wants the blueprint for reflection, which they've forgotten completely about, and they're not even mentioning
Faith, are you there?
mentioning reflection. They've thrown out a whole different key phrase.
Isabel Kruger's biological daughter. He adopted her. Her real name is Caitlin Connors. Isn't your name Connors too? What if?
It is. I have to talk to her.
But I thought your sister was. Oh, sorry.
Alright. So now we are either running or fast traveling to a massive place. It probably would make a lot more sense to simply fast travel. Just go down underground, fast travel, and move the story forward. Unless they really were planning on some like major chase sequence here. In the original game, there definitely would be a major chase sequence.
I've sent you the approximate location of Kingdom.
Who are you?
Who are you?
I'm Plastic. Faith's friend.
I didn't think Faith had any friends.
She does too. Faith, I'll compare that location with the city's plans. Should have something for you when you've talked to Isabel. I mean, Caitlin.
You have access to the full city plans? We should do business sometime. Your debt is growing, Faith. Make sure you're around to repay it. I'm off.
So, wasn't the security camera here before? And now it's gone. But our security cameras randomly spawned I guess that's the question. It's still would be fairly slow if I was going to go down this direction. No, here's the security camera. Yeah. It didn't disappear, and it is still broken. So the only thing I could do, I suppose, is jump out of the game, completely exit the app, and reload, and it's just not worth it. But this might be the beginning of an idea, certainly, to run around and just make it part of your standard activity to shoot the cameras. But at a certain level, wouldn't it make more sense to have given you this ability to shoot the cameras to begin with? It almost makes more sense that it would be a spray paint thing. The cameras would always be about this height. You'd run up here, you'd grab them, and you rip them down. Or you'd run up here, you'd grab them, and you'd put a paintball on them. Just grabbing them and ripping them down actually wouldn't be a terrible thing. Plus, it would give you an extra reason to be able to run against the walls as a parkour thing. Okay. Now, this may be too far. Yeah. And it definitely feels like I should be getting like 1 XP. I'm not going to demand a lot of XP for destroying a camera, but just something to encourage the behavior. as the player, encourage the player to keep on doing it. Like, it's clear that the balance of the amount of XP you're going to get in this game is fairly crazy anyways, in the sense that you're going to end up with a ton of XP. Is there something down here? Nope. That's another problem, is that there needs to be more ledge focus, less pipe focus. If the pipe doesn't lead somewhere down, it should be replaced with a glowing red ledge, or a very small ledge. Alright, well, here we go. We screwed up. Now if I can just stay out of sight for long enough, that will be the end of that chase sequence. Alright, and there was a save when that ended. And this one's already broken. Okay. We may have figured something out here. Of course. This is more of an opportunity encounter, I think. This disruptor really only works in the direction you're facing, which I would have assumed it would have been totally something more around a central, like, 360 sphere of influence. Oops, there. I lost all my momentum, and I believe the game kind of hitched up in loading. See, that was like 16 XP too, so that encounter is not worth the effort. Alright, well, I both figured something out and been been dissatisfied with figuring that thing out because I still ended up in a conflict. This ladder is unique because I was not able to slide down it. Right, so now we go this direction. And see, this is reset. So that might mean if we get far enough away from... Oops. If we get far enough away from regions where we've disrupted cameras, they may just be reset. Which then would reduce this new thing we figured out down to being only slightly useful if you were forced to do the runs with Kruger security still being high. If the post-game sequence, here is another point where the doors are just not connected to a wall. Like, there's so much jank that's fairly obvious here. Yeah, you could run through an area or just walk through an area where you know the race would go. Just get rid of any cameras that might set off the Kruger security and then do the run. Although it may not be particularly even useful to do that because if you're doing a run, a lot of times you're not that close towards Kruger sec cameras anyways. Not sure we've really investigated this area completely. We probably have, though. It's real easy to not recognize areas. Yeah, this would take us back to the safe haven, which there are some kits, so we might as well go back to the safe haven. This will give us at least an idea of what the place looks like when there's no storyline experience happening here. Tons of bullet holes in the walls. Really defies the idea that they had to shoot. It's like, it's kind of hard to say we had to shoot and then we unloaded entire clips into the walls, but that is also frankly fairly common. Would there ever be a collectible or something worth getting here, I wonder? No. I wouldn't be surprised if the final boss fight also takes place in here. And then, like, since we've seen 2 boss fights take place there already. So if Kingdom is underground, then it becomes questionable at some level whether the Greylands really exist at all. They might be a straight myth, and they may just be killing people or turning them into food. A la something like Soylent Green. If the City of Glass is run by the conglomerate, but then there are other cities run by other groups of corporations, which would be fairly believable. It wouldn't be super surprising if what the game thinks is a big reveal is that there is entire other cities run by entire other corporations, and then they would set up for a potential sequel where Faith goes to liberate some other city.
Hey you, over here.
Let's see, should we try this?
I
Sure.
have a friend in one of the other cells. This package actually contains a flower. I know it's a bit over the top, but she said she'd never seen one, and I thought, well, please deliver it for me. But be careful. It's quite delicate.
This looks more like a Black November guy than a runner.
I
get this flower for her. Before I was cast out, I was family. I had a penthouse in the view. The flower is an orchid, and my brother gave it to me. He misses me just like I miss him. But there's no way back for me now. I'm committed to Rebecca and Black November. I promised my brother I'd keep in touch, and I will, but only to warn him when it's time to leave the city. In the meantime, I thank him for this flower and the happiness it will bring to her.
So this feels like this is one of those situations where
Over here.
Damn it. Now we need to come up with something else to send her. That flower wasn't easy
that's
to find.
not particularly a hard race. It's just a matter of you've got to do everything right or you don't have enough time.
Hey, you. I have a friend in one of the other
Yeah,
cells.
you're probably best off just starting here, going here. Yep, see? And because that reset and disrupts you, I don't know if I can actually make this run.
Hey, you. I have a
Like-
friend in one of the other cells. This package actually contains a flower. I know it's a bit over the top. But you've never seen one.
Okay. Like we've got
I
to
hope she understands
jump,
the danger I put myself in
jump,
to get this flower for her.
jump.
Before I was cast out, I was family. I had a penthouse in the view. The flower is an orchid, and my brother gave it to me. He misses me just like I miss him. But there's no way back for me now. I'm committed to Rebecca and Black November. I promised my brother I'd keep in touch, and I will. But only to warn him when it's time to leave the city. In the meantime, I thank him for this flower and the happiness it will bring to her.
Like the feels like you would pretty much have to jump without sliding.
Over here.
Damn it. Now we need to come up with something else to say.
And even though it feels like you run out of time, it actually does kind of feel like it also gives you a couple extra seconds. This definitely feels like an experiment around the
I have a friend
disrupt
in one of the other cells.
ability.
This package actually contains a flower. A bit over the top.
I hope she understands the danger I put myself in to get this flower for her. Before I was cast out, I was family. I had a penthouse in the view. The flower is an orchid, and my brother gave it to me. He misses me just like I miss him. But there's no way back for me now. I'm committed to Rebecca and Black November. I promised my brother I'd keep in touch, and I will. But only to warn him when it's time to leave the city.
This is
Meantime,
odd recording story.
and the happiness it will bring to her.
Like it's a fine story to tell, but it's not anything special or
Thank you.
expanding much.
Wonder what he sent me this time. It really is very sweet, but I just don't know. If Rebecca finds out, well, it's not really your concern, is it? Thanks again.
And see, with these being basically the only two like models as far as Black November, you have like one female model and one male model, and that's pretty much it. You might as well have these characters be named characters at that point, and this should have been a secret like side mission story experience that a lot of players would just miss out on. Alright, well, I don't see a reason not to start another mission. So if one race is going to lead to another.
To hand over these eggs to you. They're quail eggs from Neridia Nova, so you don't want to break them. Or
So
they'll
there is
melt.
an area called
I hear
a different
Nova is
area.
very particular with his ingredients.
Alright, a minute 56. Alright. Of course, this is also going to end up taking us in the wrong direction. This took us in the totally wrong direction. Can we make up for that? Or are we doomed? You definitely have a problem where, yeah, I have no idea where I'm going, and one wrong step could lead towards ending up like resetting this whole travel section. So more than likely what we'll want to do is abandon this quest if we don't succeed at it. Interesting that led me to automatically use the grapple. So this is definitely a race you would not have been able to do. Yeah, I'm having a lot of hitchiness right now.
Hey, over here. Those eggs are useless now. Dogen will have a fit.
Alright, well. So, if we are going to do these quests later, we will do them later. You have to be underground to even see where the goal is to then reset the waypoint. And what sucks is I know I missed some stuff on the way here. I saw a computer chip. I saw cameras. I don't think the computer chip is too far away, so yeah. Was that the only computer chip that we missed, though, or I guess you just won't ever know, like, unless these start showing up on the map also, or these become a actual storyline quest that you have to do. And that would be a very old school, terrible way to make a game, to say, surprise, you actually do have to collect every single computer chip that is in the game. We just were hoping that most players would have volunteered to do that before we forced all the other players to go in that direction. This definitely feels like there's well, in this area there's a ton of grid leaks, and I wouldn't even be surprised if more grid leaks at some point actually showed up. I don't think it's an infinite thing. Knock that guy off the ledge. Knock that guy off the ledge.
If you hadn't come, I'd be dead or locked up by now. Thank you so much.
I think it's a little weird that they keep saying policy when they mean law. Like, that's bending over, I think, backwards too much to potentially... Yeah, let's just get the extended slide. It's bending over backwards too much to hide the fact that this Kruger Sec and the conglomerate is still basically a government. And Kruger Sec are basically police, and there still are basically laws. Like, they're not even particularly doing a great job at hiding or indicating that the rich oligarchs and the families don't have to follow the same laws. Like, it would probably benefit the game to show a sequence where Kruger Sec tries to stop somebody who is high caste and then apologizes immediately once they realize that they're high caste and leaves them alone and lets them go about doing whatever they want. Right, there is one over there, but is there anything else over here? Run up this wall to get to here, to get to this. So it would be very late, but I guess this kingdom, when we reach kingdom, which could be quite a while from now, since it's such a far distance, if it turned out to actually be more like a Roman arena where they're forcing criminals to fight for the amusement of the higher caste people, then that would be... Okay, so we have just heard that the security will come if you shoot the cameras also. Yeah, and they show up pretty quick. So that's not the perfect solution either. Seems like the same line of dialogue is said no matter which camera you destroy. Also. Right, so that was the camera I just shot. And there's those guys. So they're not just going to actively walk over here. In fact, they may not even show up at all because this may just be a case that there is too many people already in the same area. They don't seem like they go away, and they never feel like they're small groups of people. It's always four, two of one kind of the Kruger sect, two of the other. And I definitely am not hoping that that changes for the worse. That it would really suck if we started to get sentinels or something like that instead. But here's a question. Can you jump on the top of the vent to get up? Yes, you can. But seemingly the game never actually requires you to do that. Let's come in here and grab this basic kit.
Heard about the raid. Crap.
We need to take a stand.
Noah and the others.
Any more basic kits in this area? Nope. So let's set back our quest. So I guess you just risk it. I guess you just risk it and you destroy these cameras. Just because. You hope that that's permanent and that that gets saved. If it calls security on you, that's fine. You can definitely tell that there are too many cameras in the game, even if you did have a faster reload. Unless there's some way to just sit here and wait for the disruptor to charge, just like not hitting any buttons on the controller, potentially refilling after like 5, 6, 7 seconds, or even 10 or 20 seconds of no movement. But that doesn't seem to be the case. In fact, I'm not sure if the disruptor doesn't actually refill on the same flow motion of your shield. So it may be the actual act of running that fills the disruptor. Yeah. Because I just ran across that area. And that refilled the disruptor. Hmm. Still getting a lot of non-subtitled audio through walls. It almost feels like that would be something you would really work on as far as the audio in a horror game compared to a parkour game. I feel like it's possible they thought that since you would always be running around, you would need to be able to have 360 surround audio. But it's not really the case that that's needed at all, because you can very easily just see bullets flying over your shoulders when somebody's shooting at you and hear alarms going off. And so they make it very obvious when you're in danger. Right. There was one over here. I'm not sure how you swing from that point to that point. Nope, I better run. Screwed that up. I totally screwed that up. But just running in a circle was all that was needed to fix that mistake. I don't think that even caused an alarm, so I don't think that gave me an EXP at all. Wow, they literally know my name. Come on, fall off the ledge. Okay. See, that's not even the bad part of doing something like that and running into a group of people that seem to just randomly have been there. The bad part is now you've got to do the chase and you've got to do the run. And if I'm running towards, say, the construction zone, is there a great way to ensure the camera will stop, the helicopters will stop following me in the construction zone? Or am I going to be forever irritated by being chased by these guys? Right. Somewhere around here is a briefcase, and I don't believe it's in this pit, because I question if you could actually get out of this pit. So where is it hiding? I'm not really hearing the beep beep beep. Could it be on top of this scaffolding? Really isn't a lot here. And they had to bring this back, I suppose, or they definitely wanted to bring this back, but it almost feels like this should fade out and be a part of render vision. Let's just see if we die doing that, and we did. Because once you get those briefcase collectibles, if I really was going to run around through the entirety of this game, it would be fairly difficult to know which ones are the ones that have already been collected. Yeah, I would need a full checklist. Some printout, some guide or something. Or it would have to be marked on the map. I don't hear any beeping here, but I was thinking it might be over there. And if you cross this part, you pretty much know at that point that that's too far. Getting up to this doesn't seem like it does anything. You know, I doubt there's a way to get to the top. Unless there was some kind of like real tricky maneuver. You could definitely get here. Yeah, I don't think you can get up that wall. That seems fairly obvious. You might be able to get on top of this, but I'm still not hearing any beeping. Climb up here, and then jump. Jump. Nope. Doesn't feel like it's trying. I thought maybe this bit of yellow there was the briefcase. And here you have that same weird reflection that's from something, but I don't know what. Could the briefcase be down here? Yeah, absolutely. It totally could be down there. But then why would it be mentioned here? Right. A jump up here, 180, jump up here is too far. It's up here, jump 180, up here, jump 180. And there's not any other skills or anything. It's there's nothing else you can do. And as far as I can figure, you're never going to unlock any new skills to do anything else. Although in all fairness, this also would be not the first time that I have found something a little bit odd as far as a collectible in this area, in the construction area in particular, and not really been able to figure out where that connects. And it's gonna take us nearly a full hour to reach where we were. This does give us a slight excuse to try to do this race, which does noticeably have some grid leaks. So those grid leaks must have been added after the fact. No question about it. Alright, hold to cancel, and we'll leave it at that one. We tried it once, which theoretically may mean we can come back and try it again later. Is there an easy way to get up here? I know there was a ton of collectibles in this area, and there weren't grid leaks in this area. Which I guess that 100% guarantees that you have to go through every part of this world at least twice. Like, there's no way to get around it. Let's go ahead and set our guidelines so we know which way to go. And there are definitely better ways to potentially make a player go through an entire game twice. Like, you could have flipped everything from left to right. That probably wouldn't have changed too much in this game. You could have flipped it so you go from the exit to the entrance a lot. They do some of that, but not perhaps as much of that as might be really helpful. You could set day-night time rules or different just visual aesthetics around it, which they do have some of that, but it's not procedural really. It seems like the daytime nighttime just randomly happens. If it is procedural when it's nighttime, doesn't feel like it. Here's that wire that loves to glitch out. Do we have any other side quests, by the way? We didn't even look at that as a possibility. There totally could have been a side quest. Yeah, there is one way over here to get to the metagrid. And so we may be abandoning finger on the pulse, and because we didn't take an extremely long side journey to do this grid node and then do that side quest. So hopefully we'll get another opportunity for that. I still have no good ideas as to how you would actually get up there. It still makes absolutely no sense. But maybe this storyline quest will explain it better. Now we're going back to talk to our sister, which once again, it would make a lot of sense for there to be a guard in front of her cell, since the cutscene is going to almost certainly show a guard in front of her cell. And we'll do the cutscene and see if that changes anything.
Where have you been?
We can't let her die.
If the conduit is where they kill people and Kingdom is close to the same area, seems like there's a lot of blood flowing in this way.
Don't!
Leave, Faith. I'm gonna send a clear message to Kruger.
Then you'll have to shoot me too.
You be very, very careful with what you say next.
She's not Kruger's daughter. Her name's Caitlin Connors, and she's my sister. And I think you know.
All I know is that the air down here is already killing me. So you might as well get it over with.
Please, Rebecca! Noah's being held in a place called Kingdom. I have to go get him. Is there someplace you can take her topside in the meantime?
We've all had to make hard sacrifices in this struggle, Faith.
I'll give you what you want. You know what I mean.
So, she may be
Till morning.
your sister may have trouble breathing because she was gassed when she was a child. Or it may just be that she's been raised on pure air, and this whole place around here is, the underground is full of very dirty air.
Waypoint set. Kuma says you should watch yourself down there. Kingdom sounds like a bad place.
It would make a lot more sense, frankly,
Faith,
for
if
them.
you're going to look for Noah, I'm coming with you. I'll wait for you by the blast door.
Yeah, it would make more sense for that to have been mentioned and just said directly. These cutscenes are so short; they're putting such little effort into it.
When you go into the tunnels, beat coverage will be very limited. It's really deep.
I wonder if this is a.
Conglomerate is keeping there besides Noah. Your friends call them undesirables, but that can be anyone, right?
Yeah, I wonder if this kingdom is going to be a much more linear area. Even this underground area here has been pretty open, but now we're seeing a whole another section that does seem like it is going to be actually a fairly small section. So unless this expands more, or this goes just really far down, that may be a boss fight or a very, very linear experience. And there may be no way that you can do a beat LE, for instance, in that section. But yeah, that, or it might be very weird that you can do a beat LE in that area, and then it turns out to be that's the way. That's just going to be a region that not too many players would have thought about or reached. In all fairness, though, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a fairly significant number of people that never even got to the online content at all in this game, just because they potentially had just really awkward parkouring. The tutorial in the first game is so much better. It really forces you to do a slide, a punch, a kick. There is much more of a system around the punches and kicks. Like, it's not just X and Y. There's entire, like, combo systems that supposedly are existed. There's the whole slow down time. Oh, I haven't even mentioned the slow down time feature. Like, the #1 feature in this game, in the original Mirror's Edge, is you could just at any time hit B and it would slow down time so that you could run up to bad guys and grab their guns and, like, disarm them. And there was a whole QuickTime event where the gun would turn red with the runner's vision, and that would be the point that you would press Y to grab it. But also, at any other point, you could also just slow down time to do a run. And they had to take that out because they made it an open world multiplayer game. It's not little changes that were made here to make Mirror's Edge Catalyst. It was taking a scalpel to some major core gameplay mechanics of the original Mirror's Edge just to have it be online, just so that they could justify EA Origin and potentially putting DLC. I don't even think there actually is any DLC in this game, but for this game. But if there is, I'm not going to even bother to really check about it, because last thing at this point I really would want would be more of this game as a real pale comparison to the original Mirror's Edge. Like, at a certain level, they should have just left Mirror's Edge alone. Yeah, that would have been better. Make a new game from the creators inspired by Mirror's Edge. Um, call it something like Knife Edge or something, or Reflection. Spiritual successor to Mirror's Edge. But don't try to bring back Faith, who had a fairly complete story in the first game. Interesting, I would also say, ooh, we now have brown as a color. They didn't really try to make Faith turn into a superhero, which you kind of would have expected them to do that. Like, almost every game you start off as a nobody, and by the end of the game you're the savior of the universe. Whereas Faith starts off as a runner in the original Mirror's Edge and solves a mystery and saves her sister, and that's about it. Like, she doesn't have any magic superpower or any kind of like vaccine inside of her, or her tattoo on her arm doesn't really do anything. To defeat the bad guys in the original game, you break into a server, you steal data, and you release the data to the public to expose Kruger. Whereas this game, Mirror's Edge Catalyst, has definitely hinted at the idea that maybe there's a vaccine in you that makes you special. There is clearly something special about you in that you didn't get sent to the Greylands at the beginning of the game and instead only spent 1 year in jail. There's also something special about you in that your sister was adopted by Kruger, whereas the sister in the first game was just a security officer, so I guess she would have been a Kruger character equivalent. Almost certainly a lot of the influence of this game, or of the character design of Faith, is from the character from, I want to say No More Heroes, but that's not the game I'm thinking of. Beyond Good and Evil. In Beyond Good and Evil, you play as a female photographer who very quickly stops really being a photographer and soon becomes the savior of the universe and stops a alien invasion, I believe is what happens in Beyond Good and Evil. And they have desperately been trying to develop a Beyond Good and Evil 2, although I don't think that they've actually legitimately been put a lot of effort into it for decades. And that probably is a better way to go about things, is to tease and hint at a potential sequel, like Beyond Good and Evil, put out a teaser trailer for 1 year and then 5 years later still have nothing to show for it, than to more quietly work on a replacement game like Mirror's Edge Catalyst was made and released as, just a few years after the original game came out. Like, the original Mirror's Edge is still very, very playable. You can play it today. There's not much reason for this game to exist. Guess we could go over the statistics here, but in general, we're 79% done with the story, and really I just want to rush to the story. We did learn the one thing, that we can potentially disrupt security cameras. So if we finish the whole story and there still was KrugerSec around the place, maybe then you would just need to run around and destroy all the cameras. Although, I don't know what you're really going for that. At a certain point, it might just make more sense to to just stop playing. We can see that there's still 2 security hubs. I wouldn't be surprised if at least one of those security hubs is in a story place, and so we won't be able to hit it until we're near the end of the game. As far as grid nodes, there's only 1 more. We know where that is. As far as opportunity missions, we've done 7 of 40. There's clearly a lot more of those. I think almost all the opportunity missions are probably the intervention missions where you see some low caste being hassled by the Kruger site. As far as billboards, there's 8 billboards. As far as grid leaks, there's still 121 grid leaks to collect. So that is really a massive amount. But I am already past the point where I get any reward for that, it seems, unless there are rewards for doing 100% of everything, and that may just be achievements. I can say there are at least 27 achievements still to go, according to Steam, so it's very likely that I would just never spend the extra effort to try to get and collect everything to get in all the achievements. Yeah, as far as other collectibles, surveillance recordings, we still have about half to do. Documents, over half to collect. Secret bags, we have 3/4 to collect. And electrical parts, still at least 110 plus to collect. So in world completion, we're only at 35%, which is well below half of story completion. And the whole division stuff doesn't, I think, play any real role. Like, unless I do every single one of these races to start with, there's not even a point to think about raising your division rankings, which seems to really not do anything anyways. Maybe it gives you an achievement. It also doesn't seem like you can fast travel to these races from this screen, which that would be very helpful if you could do that, certainly. And of course I'm just playing offline. As far as XP to unlock things, we need about 4,000 more XP, so it might be fairly hard to unlock these last 2 things. And obviously I want to upgrade heavy damage plus, because it kind of doesn't matter if you upgrade light damage, but don't upgrade heavy damage. There, if we can exit out here and go to the overworld, is an odd situation, certainly to consider, in that you might just want a hacked save file for this, or someone else's semi-completed save file for this, because if you just played the game and did the story and then went into a save file where the story had already been finished, but none of the races had been done, and none of the deliveries had been done or anything like that, but they had been started once, so you could teleport to them, you would then be able to teleport to a lot more places and make use of all of that. If you play the game normally and try to do the races as you go, all the ones you accomplish will disappear, so there's no teleportation there. And definitely, you really wouldn't be able to just try everything and do everything. Oddly, it also is a case that the dashes never go away, even if you have finished them. So this world will never be 100% empty as far as things to do. The yellow and blue still doesn't make the most sense to me, because I just don't feel like I've done all the things that are in blue. It definitely feels more like all the things in blue are things that that maybe aren't open at the current point. And once we get past the storyline and just finish the storyline, everything will turn to yellow. Yep. And storyline wise, this hour did not progress at all. Yeah. We really did nothing to move the story forward. I will say, it is odd to have to say that when we saw 2 or 3 cutscenes happen. Maybe it was just 2, but yeah. In the past hour and 10 minutes, let's not beat around the bush. There was a cutscene with Faith, Dogen, his assistant getting yelled at. Then there was a cutscene with Rebecca and her Black November cohorts, assistants, whatever you want to call them, underlings, I guess is a good word. 3 of them, and your sister, and Faith in that cutscene also. And so, having potentially, nearly 9 people in 2 cutscenes and having none of their story really go forward is kind of ridiculous. The only thing we've learned is Faith, who has been mostly a sideline character and not expressed any real wants or desires, desperately wants to get Noah back, obviously. And so she's willing to trade up to 20 years working for Dogen, no questions asked, for assistance. She's willing to work for Rebecca, no questions asked. I guess that's what Rebecca wants. That's great and all. I don't even know, though, why Faith wants to protect her sister. Like, clearly would have wanted to write Faith as a character and expand on her as a character compared to the first game, as being haunted by the failure to save her sister when she was a little girl. That should have been a nightmare that she woke up experiencing in jail in the very first scene of the game. That should have been an attitude or a concept that Faith expressed in multiple conversations, where she's just determined to not let anyone down ever again, or she's determined not to lose anyone ever again. But she doesn't say that, nor does she really express that when, like, Icarus or Noah disappear. She just reacts after Noah is gone. Anyways, this episode will just get long if I continue talking, so that'll be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend to follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.